going to be something new for me. I usually paint eyes, but what I'm going to do around the whole thing, it's going to be completely different. Painted with that brush there, a little bit bigger, maybe even a bigger brush, we'll see. Anyway, let's get on to this eye. Got this paint thinned down quite a bit, probably 50-50 with water. I'm painting on canvas, which is something I don't usually do, pre-stretch. I don't like this bounce so much. I put my hand on it, but that's okay. Sorry about the compressor. Trying to get this really dark. And because I've thinned it down, it's going to take a little while. It's quite a few layers to actually get it to as dark as I want. But I like doing it that way, only because I can take my time getting there, and I know I won't go too far, too fast, because it's going on fairly light. I got a little bit of a highlight right there. I'm just going to scratch it in. Painting on canvas, it's really hard to use an eraser because the paint soaks right into the gesso and into the fabric of the canvas and makes it really difficult to actually erase. Although Drew Blair's paint, dries a little slower, so you probably do have time to do this with an eraser, but I'm using golden and it does tend to dry relatively quickly, almost as quickly as it does, you know, when it hits the canvas. It's pretty much dry, but there's enough gesso on this canvas that I can scratch. I don't have to worry about going through, and I'm going really light, just taking off a layer of paint. One here. And sometimes I'll actually take some white paint and just dab it on the highlights to get them a little bit brighter. But I'll do that when the painting's done. And as I get darker around the eye, these highlights will actually show up a bit more and look a little brighter. There. And then to put some little tiny veins in the eye, I am just going to use a paintbrush. Thin it out a bit more with some water. Paintbrush works good for doing small little details. You don't have to rely on your airbrush all the time. You can use a paintbrush. It is allowed. A little harder to use a paintbrush on things like if you're painting a motorcycle, car, stuff like that. When you clear coat over it, it becomes very, very distinct, the paint lines, whereas on canvas and like fine arts, it doesn't do that. I guess the clear intensifies it or something, I don't know. I just use the paint right out of the cup so it matches the same. That's about it. Go back to the airbrush in a sec here. Just drawing some lines. There we go. Oops. Making noise. And I'm using a water Eclipse airbrush with a 0.5 needle. Actually, I use a 0.5 needle for almost everything. Thin your paint properly. And get your air pressure right, you can get some pretty crazy details with a bigger needle. That way I'm not having to switch back and forth or spending silly amounts of money on expensive airbrushes. I mean, this one was Canadian, about 160 bucks. whereas the Eclipse Canadian is around $700. I'm not about to spend that. Get rid of some pencil lines before I paint over them. Just highlights in this area here that I'm just going to scratch in with a little blade, a little X-Acto blade. That's what I like about thinning the paint out. You can get, you know, a fair distance away from the canvas and get some really nice blends. Just saves you from going too dark too fast. And that's happened to me quite a bit. This saves your ass. You get this a little bit dark around the eye, and the eye doesn't look like it's just floating off the page anymore. This is just a mixture of really, really dark brown and some black. And I got some little wrinkles here. Well, I got the airbrush running really nice now, so I can draw them in. I don't have a problem doing it with the airbrush. It's spraying really nice. So I'll just paint them in with this rather than the paintbrush. And I'll do the eyelashes with this, but I'll go back with a paintbrush and highlight them just to get them a little stronger and cleaner looking. With the airbrush, it kind of gets the edges a little bit out of focus, which helps them look a little bit more real once you take the paintbrush and paint over top of the eyelashes to make them a little bit more distinct. Do a couple little highlights here and there in between the eyelashes. These are just little highlights reflecting off all the little tiny wrinkles. You don't have to be really accurate. I'm just loosely following the photo. As long as you have these highlights in, it'll recreate that skin that you want. Camera's probably not picking up on everything here, but there you go. Hose is catching that stuff. Here we go. A little bit darker. Like I said, I'm going to do something different around the top edge and all around here. I'm going to be creating a bit of a window out of just some colors. A really big brush. You'll see because I can just darken in where the eyebrow's going. Put some background color on it, and then I can paint in the actual eyebrows. And remember, eyebrows don't move just in one direction; they're all over the place. It's quite random. Paint them too contrived all in one direction, they're going to look weird. They won't look very real. It pays to study how things are actually working and how the hair lays down and eyelashes and eyebrows, hairs on the skin, arms, they're all random. What I'll actually do is paint eyebrows in, and then I paint right over top of them. They'll go a little darker as I add more paint. It'll also give it a bit more of a real, it gives it more depth. There's a couple of them going that way. There's a couple going that way. A few of them here going one way. Yeah, randomly just put in some paint and it'll create that uneven effect that you want for the eyebrows. You don't want it to look like they're just painted on with an eyebrow pencil or eyeliner. And if you look really good at the drawing, it's all kind of a lighter gray underneath, and then you can see the actual eyebrows, individual hairs, or lashes. No, not lashes, they're hairs, I guess. We've got some stragglers. Something you never want to mask off is an eyebrow. You want the edges to be soft. And leave the canvas for the white areas, the highlights. You don't want to be spraying white. You want to use the canvas or the board or whatever it is you're painting on as your white areas. bit for now. I'm going to turn off the video.